Time for another Q&A. You know how these work, but I just want to thank my patrons again. This is all for them. They're the ones that are helping Rock to stay afloat. I know that always sounds crazy, and it's sounding cliche from so many people on YouTube saying that. It helps me out a ton, though, and Rock can improve in quality and have more videos come out because of everyone on Patreon. So, this is for them. If you want to join in at only $2 a month or more, you can ask questions like this every 3 months and get other perks too. Just check out the YouTube card or the link in the description. You know how these work, so let's get started. And let's hope these questions are awesome and not ridiculous. Gun to your head, you are okay. First of all, anytime I see someone ask a question with the phrase, gun to your head, I get freaked out a little bit. Why am I in some type of weird hostage negotiation situation where if I don't answer right away, I'm gonna have my head blown off? It just makes it so needlessly intense. But, okay. Gun to your head. You are forced to delete one of these 3 albums from existence. A. Master of Puppets Metallica. B. 13th Step, A Perfect Circle. C. Francis the Mute, The Mars Volta. Okay, 3 of my favorite albums. Awesome. Don't know how I'm in this situation and why I have to either have my head blown off or delete one of these. Of the 3, I would probably delete Francis the Mute by The Mars Volta. The reason being, I think Metallica's Master of Puppets is so important to thrash. A Perfect Circle's 13th Step is also just important to me personally, but it had such a dynamic in music in general to rock and the alternative and everything else that it has, that vibe. Mars Volta, Francis the Mute, unfortunately, as great it is as it is, and I love it, there is some filler segments just for how much feedback and cricket noise and stuff like that it is. That doesn't make it, you know, that perfect seamless listen. Not to mention, there's a lot more Mars Volta we can partake of. That's great. So, of the 3, I would choose Francis the Mute, the Mars Volta, even though I love it as one of my favorite albums ever. Please don't blow my head off. Here's the scene. You are in a dark room, and the only things you can see are 2 I love the setups in these questions now. Everything's so dramatic. One has the new Tool album on it, and the other lies the new System of a Down album. You can only pick one, and the other will turn to dust and never see the day. What is your choice? Okay. Oh, well, it's all up to me, is it? Great. Biased, I would say Tool. There's reasons, though, why I would say that, because Tool and System of a Down have been both away for the same amount of time since 2005, 2006, you know, since we've heard real new music from them. Even so, we had a lot more System of a Down in a condensed time than we have Tool. The Tool albums all came out in a very sparsed out time frame from the early 90s to 2006. That's a lot more spread out. And also, I think we've anticipated Tool music more because of that. So, that alone, I would say Tool. And I know Serge Tankian has done his own solo work, but I feel like if both of those albums came out and I could only listen to one and the other I would never get to listen to, let alone no one, it would turn to dust, I would want to hear a new Tool album. So, Tool, 100%. Sorry, System of a Down fans. I'm a fan too, but I've doomed everyone that's a fan now. Oops! What is the weirdest genre fusion you've heard? For example, I've heard Welsh reggae metal and Moldovan folk ska rock. What kind of concerts do you go to? Wow! Okay. That is a good question. I don't know about weirdest, but it was unique. I won't say it's weird in a bad way. There was a band that I was invited to go see. It was this bluegrass punk fusion. And it worked well. They actually were very talented at their instruments, you know, stand-up bass and guitar, you know, and fiddle, you know, and stuff like that. And it made it work. That's a very rare combination, though. There's a lot of room for error when you combine so many different elements that don't really reflect off each other and complement each other. So Welsh reggae metal and Moldovan folk ska rock, I don't know if I would be a fan of. If you have any other incredible genre fusions like that, leave them in the comments and leave a link, like a YouTube link or something. I'd be curious to know what the weirdest one would be, because I don't know what that would look like, even let alone sound like. Emperor Tigerstar, I usually don't say the name, but I want to shout out Emperor Tigerstar. Great YouTube channel on history of the world and different areas. Check his stuff out. You will learn more from him than any history class. Which kind of guitar solo do you prefer? Fast with lots of tapping and sliding, or slow with a lot of emotion and power chords? You know, as I've gotten older, I've been more impressed with the tapping. The faster, very near the bottom of the neck tapping. You know, I've really come to appreciate that, just how much talent, speed, and precision you need. So it does depend on the song, though. I love the broodier, long, slow choruses, but at the same time, the faster and heavier the music, I've noticed the more very frantic tapping style solo. So it depends on the mood, but I'm more impressed with the tapping stuff because some of that is just amazing. Theory of a Deadman or Maroon 5, and why? What? Okay. Thanks for not putting a gun to my head to make a choice. I haven't listened to a ton of either, so it's hard for me to say. I know Maroon 5's obviously gone through their changes from somewhat alternative rock and rock itself, just straight rock, to full-blown pop, to the point where my mother listens to Maroon 5. That's right, my mother has the album Overexposed, and she keeps it in her car. Could be worse, I agree. But at the same time, I don't know, Theory of a Deadman is just so meh. I said that in the video for the recent Billboard Gets Rocked. I don't know. Even though they're not rock anymore at all, probably Maroon 5, because I just see more effort and talent put in than Theory of a Deadman, who's just there. They exist. They're dead. They might be dead. I'm not really convinced, so thin margin. I've heard worse than Theory of a Deadman for sure. They're not the worst thing ever. They're not that terrible. But I guess Maroon 5, I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm wrong either way. What does it matter? Okay, here we go. It's time to get serious with this question. Brock Lesnar or Braun Strowman? Well, if you saw that this is a WWE-related pro wrestling question, if you saw the pay-per-view, Brock Lesnar kind of made that match worthless, and it's kind of unfortunate because Braun Strowman's great. Braun Strowman is the future, though. He is so talented. People don't realize how agile he is because they're protecting him the right way. They want to make sure people don't realize just how fast he is for being 7 foot tall. And that's smart. They want to save that for the right moments. So I love Brock, all the things he's done, even though the last few years have been very sparse. Very sparse. Braun Strowman's the future. I'd bet on him, for sure. He can really usher in a new phase for WWE as a monster heel that literally makes people afraid. I mean, when you watch TV and he's angry and flipping over an ambulance onto someone or with someone inside, I'm scared on my couch, comfortably sitting at home. So yeah, Braun, for sure. Which album from RTP do you feel is very meh compared to some of the other RTP albums? Meh? Yeah, I mean, Megadeth Risk is just meh. There's some embarrassing cheesy moments, but it's just so boring. Nothing there. And you know Dave Mustaine has the talent, it's just nothing. Yeah, I mean, even Chinese Democracy, I at least understand and appreciate some of it because there was so much of a mess making it, but for most meh, yeah, Risk by Megadeth for sure. And I'm a Megadeth fan too. Favorite Nintendo franchise? Okay, I have NES, and that's the last Nintendo system I've owned. I went from NES, or inherited NES from my sister and the games, to Sega, to PlayStation 1, and I've been PlayStation ever since. So it's hard for me to say. I love Mario. I love playing with Zelda games, even though I only had one on NES that I never really finished even, and that was Zelda, the original. I love Metroid too, at least that's something kind of cool. Hard to say other than that. I mean, you could count Pokemon, technically because it is owned by them, but yeah. Sorry, that's kind of a weak answer, but yeah, I guess the original Marios I've always loved. Like Mario 3 is one of my favorite games ever. You know, I still will play that any time of the day. Would you consider doing a top 10 for TV show opening theme songs? Obviously for rock songs, but I suppose you could do a general one if you wanted. Yeah, I would be opposed to that. That'd actually be kind of fun. It's something different too to try. On the list, X-Men's theme. The cartoon, not one lyric said unless you watch the Japanese version, which is also awesome. Yeah, those guitar riffs and that rhythm, holy crap. Everyone should just listen to that every now and then, like when they wake up. Use that as like an alarm clock to wake up to. See how pumped you get throughout the day then, just because you started off your morning with that X-Men theme. How do you feel about And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead's source tags and codes? Personally, I feel it's the absolute best album of 2002 and one of the best rock albums of the whole decade. I love it too. And I feel like And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead never topped that either, even though I haven't listened to everything they've done. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I haven't listened to it in years. I think you might love it more than I do. I wouldn't know about best album of 2002. There was a lot I'd have to go back and look into. But I remember loving it. I didn't even hear it in 2002. I went back. So yeah, that's a great one. That is definitely worth looking back into. What is your favorite In This Moment album from their early years? I mean, people always say Star-Crossed Wasteland. I liked Beautiful Tragedy. I mean, that's just me. That's how I got introduced to them. So that's why I like it so much. It's very different now. They have gone more melodic, more in the hard rock scene. But yeah, that would be the one from their early years when they had the original lineup. I like the guys in the band now more than the band members back then, but the music was different. So I understand why there's some variety in that. Only Chris and Maria are remaining in the band, and they're the ones behind the whole band from the beginning anyway. So yeah, I'd say Beautiful Tragedy for sure. There's just more to really dive into with that one, if that makes sense. What is your all-time favorite Queen album and why? Night at the Opera. I mean, yeah, everyone says Bohemian Rhapsody, of course it is. No, it's just the whole thing. Freddie Mercury literally is one of the few musicians that I wished I would have been born in an earlier generation to see live with the Wembley stuff. Just how much of a frontman he was in a band, and something like Queen too, where there's so much music. They all wrote songs, they all contributed. I think every single member of the band wrote a #1 song at one point. I'm pretty sure that's what the record was. Like the drummer wrote another one, Bites of the Dust, I think. But still, going back, A Night at the Opera is just so fantastic for me, and that's the one I grew up with since I was a little kid, but didn't really start getting reinvesting with until much later. So that one for sure. Even the later stuff I still loved, even though it was ridiculous. I mean, Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race, whatever. Just, I kind of push it away. Yeah, they're ridiculous. And Freddie Mercury's still amazing at them too. What do you feel has been the best year for rock since the beginning of the new millennium? I have no idea. That's a hard question to answer because it hasn't been recent. It hasn't been the last 5 or 6 years for sure. It's never since I've been doing rock, because rock has not been on top. Metal hasn't been on top. And in 2001, since the new millennium, like 2001, there's still a lot of great stuff coming out. I mean, that's, Lateralis days, or in that time frame. So I don't know. It'd probably be earlier, like before 2005, if it stood a chance, because then again, there were so many other subgenres that were thriving. The bad bands of new metal were coming. The pop punk invasion was coming, and the bad bands from them were standing out. So it's hard to say, and then it kind of fell in the doldrums. You were a rock band if the lead singer was attractive enough, regardless of the music, and a lot of stuff got pushed back and discovered much later. So, I don't know. That's kind of a non-answer, and that's what I really mean. I don't know. Kind of sucks. We need that one new band. I said this in a previous Q&A too. To get rock or metal back on top, we need one big name to really grab everyone's attention. The next Metallica, the next Nirvana. That's what'll be the next best year when that band really surges. And they'll bring all those other bands behind them along for the ride. So, don't know who it is. I'm hopeful to find out though. Who are some great under-the-radar rock and metal bands that deserve much more recognition? The one I always say is the Red Paintings. That's the shirt I wore in the Metallica Regretting the Past video for St. Anger. I mean, they're making a new album out. They're an Australian punk avant-garde type band with string sections. It's so good. The music's so well written. It's dynamic. I mean, it's really tries to push stuff. They get really wild with imagery. They're very based on Alice in Wonderland type stuff and Wizard of Oz type stuff in the lyrics. The Revolution's Never Coming. The Revolution is Never Coming is the name of that album. That was my favorite album that year in 2013. Go listen to it. It's still great. They're making a new album now. They reached their goal on Pledge Music, and there's been a lot of pushbacks, a lot of setbacks for the band. That's one I always go for. So I think that's the one I really think of. I'd really have to invest in other bands to give a better answer, but off the top of my head, that's one to check out for sure. What is your favorite album art from any band or artist? Well, Tool and A Perfect Circle always stick out in mind, just like album arts, like in the actual booklet. Like when you look at the Perfect Circle's 13th Step, you get so much cool stuff. Tool's 10,000 Days won a Grammy for Best CD Packaging, you know? So that stuff's always great. But one that will never get enough credit is Baroness. That's all paintings done by John. I mean, that's stuff by him, the album covers. He's a painter. He's making all this stuff, and it's gorgeous and it's unique. So Baroness really needs more recognition for that. Seriously, I would love to see the stuff he just paints in his off time, that he just kind of casually throws away, that doesn't even think I would even think about, or that he would even think about, because I would probably love that too. Check out Baroness artwork, or John Dyer Baisley, and look him up and see his artwork. A Perfect Monster, I think, is his Instagram account. I don't know if he has artwork on there or not. He's so talented. Check that stuff out. Clean or screamed vocals? Why? Depends on the vocalist. You can have someone great and do both. You can have someone great and do just clean. You can have someone great and just do the harsh unclean. They have to be good at it though. I mean, it depends on the lyrics, depends on the song. You have to be super talented at what you do though, because when you force it, that's when it gets sucky. Depends on the mood, depends on the song or genre you're listening to. I appreciate them both though. I listened to clean mostly back then, and the harsher stuff for the unclean I still liked, but I don't know, clean's really resonated more with me because it makes it more memorable, especially in the lyrics. Don't get me wrong, I love unclean. I love it in metal. You'll hear bands like people talk about Cookie Monster vocals for some metal bands, and it's kind of true sometimes, but sometimes they're great and they work really well when they're really rough. You know, High on Fire has that great unclean vocal sound when they sing, like the singer just ate a bunch of gravel and he's still trying to choke it out when he sings. It's so good. So I would still say clean for sure. That's not to discredit the unclean singing. Even in the same band, when like a band has two singers, I still would probably lean towards clean because that's what pulls people in more often. What's your opinion on Avenged Sevenfold? They are a name now, not just in rock or metal, even though they've gone much more to the rock side over the past few years. But the stuff I grew up with going on like end of high school, that's the stuff that sticks out with me more, that I really loved listening to. And even though I try to get excited for like Hail to the King and the stage, I like it when I first hear it, and then I never really have the pull to listen to it again. I remember reviewing Hail to the King for an old music site that I used to work for, and loving it on first listen, and after that, I didn't have much pull to listen to it again. I couldn't figure out, why did I like this so much? Why did I love it? And I didn't have the best answer. It's so good to hear on first listen, and it doesn't leave the lasting memories though. So I think that's what the old music did. Maybe that's different for you guys, but that's how it was for me. I liked both Hail to the King and the stage, even though they do not live up to their old work. So Avenged Sevenfold is still talented. Would still go see them. I didn't get to see them on the Metallica tour. Hoping to see them because they're doing a tour now. So hopefully I'll get to see them again. Hopefully I'll get to shoot them again because I shot them back with old camera gear back in 2013. But, you know, I still like them. I still appreciate them. What are your thoughts on the band Issues? They become one of my new favorites. They're a mix of hip-hop, metal, and R&B. I saw Issues at Welcome to Rockville this past April, end of April. I never really heard a song from them before. I liked them. They kind of impressed me, which is with their gimmick. They really worked into it. They had a good funk in their sound. I think it's a hard sell. Like we were talking about genre fusion, but this one works well. Hip hop, metal, R&B, those all kind of really blend together, and they do it very well. So yeah, if you're into that, if you're trying to look for that kind of hip hop metal fusion or hip hop rock fusion, try Issues out. You might really like it. So I did, at least when I heard them live, and a couple songs I've heard online, like on YouTube and stuff like that. So check them out. Jim Carrey versus Will Ferrell. Who you got? Okay. Awesome. That's an awesome non-music question. I grew up with the Jim Carrey movies, you know? I remember watching Liar Liar and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber repeatedly. Truman Show is one of my all-time favorite movies. By far. Not just because of Jim Carrey. It's just so good. Will Ferrell, I still love to death. I mean, I love Talladega Nights, even though a lot of other people don't. I love Elf. Will Ferrell has a range too, but I think Jim Carrey has more of a lasting effect because I grew up with him, and also because Truman Show. So that's why I would sway towards Jim Carrey, even though he hasn't done much in the past few years. He's done more supporting stuff, which is good. And you know, Jim Carrey also just growing up and seeing where he came from stand-up and doing In Living Color, which you need to watch some of his In Living Color stuff, and going to so many other films, you know, like Eternal Sunshine, Truman Show, The Majestic, all that. So check those movies out too. He's more than Lloyd Christmas and Stanley Ipkiss, you know, he does so much more. If you were to host your own music festival, what 5 active bands would you pick for the lineup regardless of subgenres? That's a great question. I've been to some of those multi-genre festivals too. Metallica would be one of them. If I wanted to make money, I wanted to make the festival memorable, I would pick Metallica. Outdoor Lands or whatever it was that was in California this past month, that they ended one of the days. They also headlined Rock on the Range, so they can do it even though Rock on the Range isn't a multi-genre. Metallica for one of the days. I would then kind of hedge my bets and split it in a very different direction, but still in the same I wouldn't go from metal to softer alternative. Coldplay. Whether you like Coldplay or not, they would bring in a lot of people for an hour and a half of music to end a festival or be the end of one of the days of the festival. That's a huge money draw right there. So Coldplay for sure. I would have a hip-hop artist if I was doing 5 active bands or artists. It's hard to say. I mean, everyone's booking The Weeknd now. I don't know if I would book The Weeknd or not, but he's bringing in a lot of people. So it's not a bad bet to book him because he drew a ton of fans at festivals this past year. So if I had to pick a hip-hop name just because of name and to draw money, I might say The Weeknd, even though I'm not particularly a fan, but that would really bring in a lot of people. Another one, this is me being biased because I saw her in a group headline the last day of a big festival last year, Florence and the Machine. If she can come back and match something like Ceremonials, yeah, book her as the end of one of the days. Or at least just one of the big names. So, because that really adds another layer of elemental music. Something with string sections, a female vocalist, a presenter, a great stage show, you know? Someone that can really, I guess, just bring everyone together. That's something that everyone can enjoy. So yeah, Florence and the Machine, yeah, that'd really work well if I had to pick 5 bands. It's for multi-genre. So Metallica, Coldplay, Florence and the Machine, The Weeknd, and a 5th? I would be biased again. Tool. If they're really serious about making that new album, and they said they've already recorded music and they're refining stuff, going through actually picking which songs they want to live up to the Tool standard, Tool would bring in the money. When they did that tour in 2015, shows sold out in less than 5 minutes for every single date. So if you had Tool end one of those days, even though that's heavier stuff too, yeah, that would be it. That would bring in the people. So that's a good range though, I think. If I had to pick 5 bands, Metallica, Tool, Coldplay, Florence and the Machine, The Weeknd, that would cover just about everyone. And they would have other people from other genres also. So it's not just rock, metal, like Tool and Metallica. But yeah, I can't see that not doing well. So that festival would be called The Never Gonna Happen, because it's never gonna happen. Sorry, but that's what I would do if I could pick any 5, seeing all the stuff I've seen at festivals. So, yeah, I'm hoping to go to another festival at the end of this month too. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I guess that's really all I have to say. Let's end on that kind of good note. Thanks for your support. Check out my Patreon if you want to join on in this next time. I really, truly appreciate all that financial backing that you've helped to make Rocked better. Tell your friends too. If you like rock, metal, alternative, they might find something they like too, and that really helps me out a ton because that way word of mouth gets around even more. Thank you guys again. It helps me out more than you really know. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and keep watching. I'll have more stuff coming for sure. Next month, Regretting the Past.